everyone. My name is Kimball Shirey, member of the Executive Board of Directors with the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce. The Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce is a voluntary organization of businessmen and women sharing local pride, professional expertise, and a commitment to growth. Together, we provide the civic and commercial progress of our community. In support of this mission, the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce provides a platform for candidates to address a range of issues affecting our unique business community. Questions have been solicited from our chamber membership and the business community at large, and were screened by the Chamber Board of Directors in order to maintain clarity, diversity, and relevance. Thank you for your commitment to our community as demonstrated by your willingness to serve in an elected capacity. We appreciate your work towards our common mission.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Steve Oehler. I'm a project manager and I'm a Paradise resident. I moved to Paradise about 6 months before the fire. And at this point, my wife and I lived in Durham for the period, and about 3 weeks ago, we've moved back into our house. So I'm kind of running for the board. I am the volunteer type of person, and so now that there's an opportunity to have input on the board, I think that I have valuable insight in the skills that I have, and so that's my intention.
Awesome. So our first question, if elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
So there's some immediate people needs that have to happen right away. We have the folks that are living in RVs, and that issue needs to be resolved. I'm for extending that, not necessarily for a year, because we could be back in the same place in a year. So I think that they need to be grandfathered in to the town. There's the issue of the trees and the weeds and that type of stuff, and those are immediate things that need to get resolved right away so that we can keep moving forward. From a business perspective and from my project management mindset, I am aggressively focused on the long-term recovery plan. That thing was put together. It is a project manager's dream of how to get from A to Z, how to take nothing and create something out of it. It has 40 different action items. It identifies all the players, all the resources, all the timelines, cost estimates. And so when I found that thing, that was the thing that I really grabbed onto. And so immediately, I want to know where we're at. Where are we with those 40 different objectives? Some of them, a little less than half of them, are county driven, and the remainder are outside resources that would be the lead for that, but the town would have influence on that. And so immediately, that's where I want to know where we're at with that, and I want to know the benchmarks of that and what the progress has been and how close we are to completing those.
Awesome. Question number 2, what are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
So I think in all the things that we're going to take on, each one is an opportunity at the end, and the challenge is getting from A to Z. Okay, so it's not a specific list of these are the problems and these are the challenges. Everything that we need to do is the challenge that we need to overcome. There's a few things that I think from the long-term recovery plan that need to be highlighted from a business perspective. The first is the economic opportunity zones. Okay. That was directed by the federal government, identified by the state, and Paradise was not part of that. I think that needs to be readdressed. We have every place from Marysville to Oroville to Chico all being part of the economic opportunity zones. And I think now there's an easy consideration for Paradise to be included in that. And then that will allow businesses to be able to come in and have some opportunities, some benefits, some cost benefits for them to come in and make that investment. The infrastructure activities, everything from the sewer to the broadband and the undergrounding of the utilities, all that infrastructure needs to be addressed first, so that you have that foundation for people to run businesses. You can move a business in and entice businesses to come to Paradise, but if they come here and they're still on the septic and they don't have any, for the broadband, to run the computers and that kind of stuff, then that's going to be a challenge. And the businesses don't need that infrastructure challenge if that is a town and state-driven activities that we can do. So getting to that point is huge. So along there needs to be a balanced approach to what the town is tackling, because everything needs to kind of float together at the same time. You need homes to have people to work in the businesses. You need businesses to provide supplies and support for the people in the homes. So there's that balanced approach. Along with that I think is a very important piece of it is the schools. Because when the people come to the town, they're going to need, a place for the education for the kids. And so it's not just a home and a business. I think that is a third leg that is critical, that needs to float together at the same time, so that the needs of each of those aspects can be met. The kids that are going to school, so that the teachers have jobs, and the people going to work, and the businesses. So I think those are the primary challenges for the town to focus on, and all, like I said, within the long-term recovery plan.
Okay, and our third question. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
So Paradise has always been the pioneers. All right, it was the pioneers that came and settled Paradise. I think that is an appropriate theme in these days. Everybody that's coming here, that's taking nothing and turning it into something, is that pioneer spirit. That's the idea of people coming back and rebuilding, and not just walking in, getting the keys, handing over a home, and that's home ownership. It's really having that struggle that we have to overcome individually in our homes, and communally in our town, and for the businesses. So I think marketing as a recovery, as a pioneer, is building something up. And I think from a business perspective, we need to focus on the small businesses first and really entice the little businesses to come in. They're going to be the foundation. The small businesses are the backbone of employment. You'll get far more employment out of little businesses coming in, and more dedication to the town with the smaller businesses. And then once that starts to build up, then the larger businesses and the stores and the industrial pieces will come into it.
Okay, that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
I'm really excited about this opportunity. I think my skill set as a project manager is something that the town really needs. I don't have a specific agenda or objective that I'm trying to achieve. I don't have an issue that I want to take and resolve, and then once it's done, I bring a mindset and a skill set to the board of problem solving, of taking work, identifying the resources and working through it step by step with a sense of urgency. In my job, I'm measured on the time and the quality of my product. And I think that's what the board needs to do today, is have that mentality of achieving things quickly and effectively and cost effectively. So,
All right, thank you for sharing.
thank you.
Making sure that our exit routes are addressed, that we have a fully staffed and trained and equipped police department and fire department. It's important to get the base started.
Awesome. And then, what are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenge for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, first of all, 2 years is not really much of a time to develop. It's a good time to kind of start laying the base plan on it. But the truth of the matter is that we've kind of got a clean slate. We can start addressing things like the public safety issues that I was talking about. Also, broadband, high-speed internet, items like that we can incorporate into our plans, so we don't have to dig twice or whatever. But get those things in place for so we can have something to recruit business and opportunities for.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then the campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Okay, so I think the campfire, obviously provided us with some opportunity that no other town has had. It's basically we're starting with a clean slate. The fact is that if you were going to remodel or build a new building, which would you rather do? If you go into a remodeled building, you're restricted by walls and whatever that you would have to remove and move and everything else. Where you're building a new building, you can place those things where you need them to be to meet your long term. And I think we're in that situation right now. If we do proper planning, that we can actually build a community that is functional and usable, dead end streets that don't go anywhere and things like that. We can improve on that stuff. The COVID thing, actually proved to us that there's a lot more positions that could be done from home than anybody actually thought possible. And with that, putting it together with the broadband and internet and other opportunities, I think Paradise could become a different kind of bedroom community. We could have unlimited possibilities of bringing high tech people in or different organizations. I know there's a lot of people that do their accounting and bookkeeping remotely and things like that. And where else could you go to get a home like you could get in Paradise, but yet be able to hold your job from the Bay Area? I think so COVID has proven that to us.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks or statements?
No, I just, I'm looking for people to vote for me because I am a fiscal responsible person. I want to make sure that our monies that we've received from FEMA and PG&E settlement and all that stuff gets used for what it's designed to be used for. And the actuality of it is it's made for a long-term viability. If we spend it all right now, 5 years from now, we're going to be in trouble. The money is designed to go out 20 years. I would like to see a program set up that we can make sure that money will be there for the next couple of generations. So Paradise will be here for the next few generations or forever.
Definitely. All right, Greg. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Hi, John. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Well, I've been living in Paradise for about 14 years. I retired up here, and this is my home, so I lost in the fire like everyone else, and I came back And when I came back, I was living in an RV for about 16 months. So I went through that whole process and all the roadblocks that are involved in it. And I was able to actually I'm in my home now, and I was able to get past it, but just barely, and stayed ahead of most of the roadblocks. But they don't need to be there. They really don't. And I've got in my home, and now it's my mission, if you will, to help others get into theirs. And I want to run for this council seat so that I can be there to remove the roadblocks. And when the issues come up, I will be there to defend your rights, because I believe that as a member of the council, I would be there to represent the public, to represent you to the government, not the government to you. And I believe the job of the town is to provide services that we cannot afford to do ourselves, like the fire, the police, the roads. That's the town's job. They're a service provider, and the town council's job is to make sure those services are provided in a cost-effective, efficient, courteous manner. And I would never let anyone in the town forget that the town exists to serve the people, not the people to fund the town.
Okay, let's jump into our official questions. Question 1, if elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
Well, immediately we need to reevaluate our recovery plan. I mean, we adopted that back before there was a COVID virus. Before the whole COVID disaster, we adopted that plan, and it doesn't appear to allow enough time, because we have a third of our population currently living in RVs out here facing an end of the year deadline, which should not exist. It needs to be changed. If a third of the people of your population is not going to make the deadline, you readjust the deadline. You don't send them eviction notices. Now, I'm not talking about the mistakes that were made at the start, where they were letting people onto property without permit. They didn't even ask for a permit, so just anybody could move onto property. And we got people, squatters, and these parasites that follow disasters that come around for the free stuff, and they make a dump pile, and then they move on, or we have to move them on. That's not who I'm talking about. Those people should not be here, and they need to go. But the people that are here, and they're trying to rebuild, and they just need more time. The town council has no business putting pressure on them. We have enough pressure. There is so many things that delays and things that happen and go wrong and don't go right. Or you can't just get somebody to come fix your septic tank next week. It may take 6 months, and it's taken almost a year for some people just to get to the point where they can stay on their property in the RV. And now they say, well, you can't. And remember that first year, it wasn't 2 years. That first year, well, I was at the end. 10,000 people got their property cleaned up before mine. I was at the end of it. So it was still this time last year that I still wasn't allowed to live on my property no matter what. So that's the first issue, is to readjust the expectations. You know, the town can be a little forgiving with this. It's not like they have made any of the deadlines. I mean, the trees are still up. Well, there's a number of things that they didn't make, and I don't want to go into that part.
Okay, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years, and how would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, overcoming the challenges, that I'm all for. Capitalizing on it, I'm a little sketchy on that one. I'm not thrilled with the idea of profiteering that some of the contractors are doing, where they're charging an extra $100 a square foot. I don't like that idea that they're taking advantage of us, but to overcome the challenges, that's what we really need to do. Right here, I have, these are the actual approved plans for my home, which is a manufactured home, which means there's 1, 2, 3 pages, and that is it, because the rest of it is all approved by the state. My inspections were done at the factory by the state. So when you did a plan check on mine, you look and see if there's 2 bedrooms, it's less than 2,200 square feet, and there is a current engineer stamp. That's it. That took that's the inspection right there. That's the plan check right there. It took less than 3 minutes. Okay, when you do that plan check for my sister's 3-bedroom home, the only difference is you count 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. Still less than 5 minutes. Mine cost $1,200. My sister's cost $2,000. And since my sister has a second dwelling unit, which is the same as mine, she pays another $1,200 to go with her $2,000. And they have a fee for, they call it auxiliary unit. So that's another $800. So she's paying $4,000 for that 5 minutes, right? Okay, they could do that at the counter, but they don't. What they do is put it on a pile, and it takes 2 months to get that 5 minutes of staff time. Now, that staff time shouldn't cost any more than $600 for any one of those permits, and it should be done over the counter. You give it to me, we'll get it done, and give it back. And that way you take away that 2 months delay, because if you're in an RV, trust me, 2 months is forever. So that's one of the first things that we could do to really make things happen, because what we need is people to come home. We need these people that want to come home, and when you do stuff like overcharging them for their permits and making them wait 2 months for 5 minutes, that's not conducive to bringing people home. And the way to success is to increase our tax base, and that's to bring our people home.
Okay, question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Well, I think that the marketing of Paradise really is in its people. What we see is, we saw after the fire was an outpouring from the whole world. They opened their hearts to us, and we opened our hearts to each other. We started treating each other better than ever before. We were understanding of the disaster, because we all went through it, and it was tough. I mean, the PTSD in that was very tough, but we're coming through it, and that's what the greatest marketing for Paradise is that we care about each other, that this is a friendly town. This is one of the places, not just an anonymous Bay Area city that the only way you tell the difference is the street signs as you travel to the next. This is an actual distinct community that has our own values. And the value at most is the compassion and the caring we have for each other. If we build on that, and we build on that, people want to come here. First, bring everybody home. But when they see what we have here, people will want to come to us, and they'll want to join us. And that's the way that I believe that Paradise should be marketed. The idea of marketing because property's cheap is not a winning strategy. It never has been. If you look in Oroville, you'll see that marketing to businesses that come in for cheap property, you end up with some pretty environmental disasters, and then the companies just leave. Or even Fleetwood in Chico, they came for the cheap labor, they left a big empty building. So if we market on our people and as our greatest resource, I think that we'll be fine.
Okay, so that's our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
The only thing is, people always ask me what I believe, and I said it earlier, I believe that the government exists to serve us, not the other way around. And that the job of a council member is to represent you, the public, at these council meetings. And when you get up and speak, that's important information that I'm going to listen to, and that information needs to be addressed at the meeting before the decision is made. I don't believe that in these 5-1 votes with no comment, decisions seem to be already pre-made before they ever get to the council here, and that's not the way I want to do business. I believe that in total transparency, that the government doesn't have the right to tell you what you should know and what's not good for you to know. I believe that if we operate in transparency, we'll regain trust, and that's the trust we need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, Woody. thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Well, sure. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. I appreciate the chamber doing this. My name is Steve Woody Culleton, and I've lived in Paradise since 1981. And I've served previously on the town council for a period of 12 years, from 2004 to 2016. And, I want to go back on the council because I want to be a part of rebuilding our town, a positive influence on it. I think I bring experience to the table because I know how government works, and there's definitely a learning curve for new people on there. So that's why I want to come back, because I think I can help guide the people. I want to be a voice for the people on that council.
Awesome. So our first question, if elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
If I'm elected, immediately upon being sworn in December, if we have not already extended the emergency ordinance, I will make a motion to immediately extend it for a minimum of another year. My immediate goals would be to reduce all of the obstacles that we can reduce in order to make it easier for both residents and businesses to relocate in town. So that would be my immediate, that would take away obstacles, lower fees, waive fees, find innovative ways to help people, truly let the town help people get back rather than creating more obstacles.
Awesome. So our second question, what are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, I see the challenges right now, other than all of the COVID thing that we're dealing with. I see the challenges as being the obstacles that a lot of times government puts in our way. I know the town has to do all it can to survive, but businesses have lost. We don't have the population. Businesses have gone under. Our garbage company is struggling. Local businesses are struggling. And so I would want to remove obstacles for those people. I would want to entice, those are the obstacles. The advantages, the things I think we can do as a community is let's create some incentives to get businesses to relocate here. I believe that that would be what the town could do to help. Let's waive some business fees or registration fees. Let's do what we can. And we got money from backfill from the state, and we got money as a town from PG&E settlement. So it's not like we're broke, but a lot of our businesses are, a lot of our residents are. So I would want to do that. I'd want to make it easy and create incentives, whatever those might be. If they can be financial, great. If they can be, relaxing some of the zoning ordinances or something, those would be good ideas too. And then work on innovative ways maybe to bring in some new development into the community. So those are things I do with that.
Okay, our third question. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Wow. Well, who knows? I think we're in uncharted territory. None of us had ever been through the kind of fire we had. None of us, I'm 75, but none of us in my generation have lived through a pandemic like this. We don't know when it's going to end. That's part of the problem. The fact that doors are locked, at the Resiliency Center, at the Chamber, a number of businesses, they're not allowed to open. So, I don't know what COVID has done to that. What do we do as a community? We were always kind of a little bedroom community, and we didn't have industry or anything. But I think what I promote is that we're the gateway to the gold country. We're the gateway to the high lakes, and that's kind of what we are. And I think that would be something, a theme that we should maybe play on as we rebuild. It used to be, it's I come up here, it's cooler up here because we had a lot of trees and all that. Well, the fire has changed the topography of our community. one of the biggest selling points of why people have lived here for 100 years is because it was affordable. And I think we need to continue on that path. Although rebuilding has become totally expensive, this is still an affordable community to live in and to raise children in. So I would promote that. I'd promote the fact that we're the gateway to the High Lakes and to the Gold Country. I would do everything I could to encourage our Parks and Recreation Department is wonderful, and they have a lot of nice parks and interesting programs. I would promote that. And our school district, I would totally get behind our school district. That's what was an attractive thing to people that were moving here in the last 40 years. Is it was a safe environment to live in. You were near nature. You were in the woods, and it was a wonderful place to raise a family. And so, if we can keep our school district vibrant, those are the things I promote. That's what drew people here to begin with, and that's what will draw them back here again. That and just the small town America nature of our community. Neighbors know one another, So those are the things I promote to try to get people to come back here. Safe place to live, in the foothills of Northern California.
So that is it for our official 3 questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
I think that one of the things I want the voters to know is, my experience on the council of the 12 years I was there. This is just my personal experience. It's my belief from my experience that power at any level of government is corruptive. I believe I was corrupted by the power the same way that a lot of other people I see are, and I mean that at every level. And what I mean by that was where you elected me to go in and be your representative, the people's representative, to set policy and kind of be the referee as far as what the government and the staff did. Once I got there after a few years, suddenly, rather than representing the people and the good of the people and the will of the people, I ended up defending the town. And your elected representatives are not elected by you, the people, to defend the town. We're elected to go there and represent the people and make sure that the town is doing things that are in the best interest of the entire community, not just select groups or select few. So that's why I'm running, and that's why, if you put me back on that council, I will be the voice of the people. I'll be your people's whistleblower. I'll let you know what's going on at Town Hall. Thanks.
How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Sure. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate this part of the process. It's important. I am currently sitting on the town council. I have been a resident of Paradise for about 20 years. Personally, I'm a grandmother. I have a dozen grandchildren that I love, and I have a passion for this community. I've been working for many years to enhance the quality of life in Paradise, and will continue to do so, no matter what happens in November.
Jumping into our official questions, question number 1. If elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
I think the first immediate priority is getting the trees out of town, the dead and dying trees out of town. We are working toward that, and that will be happening, but that's an immediate priority. Another priority is the urgency ordinance and addressing that. Of course, that expires on December 31st, and I believe that the council needs to ensure that we're making the right decisions surrounding that, both for the community and for the town of Paradise moving forward. Another priority I see with this council, and one of the reasons that I believe that this council needs to be a seasoned council, a solid seasoned council, is that we have a new town manager, a new finance director, a new legal team, and 4 new members of our planning commission. With all of these new members, we need a solid team to guide them. through this process until they get their feet under them and can move forward. There's just a lot of transition happening right now, and I feel it's critical that that the council be one that can guide them through this and be ready to hit the ground running, as they say.
Okay, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Opportunities are abundant, and I think a lot of people see that as well. Opportunities are like this brand new community that needs everything, and so for businesses to come in, they can. It's easy to identify where the gaps are because the gaps are very wide. We'll put it that way. That's an opportunity for businesses to come into the community. Challenges, of course, are great because we don't have the variety of businesses that we need to support each other. That's a challenge. Of course, COVID is a challenge, but I think that those things can be overcome, and I think that there's a lot of people out there that see the opportunity in Paradise and will take advantage of it.
Okay, question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Oh, I think it's going to be a while before we are post-COVID, but I believe that Paradise has a tremendous opportunity to present itself as an innovative, new community. I think that if I were an investor looking to invest in any organization, whether it's in a town or an organization within a town, I would be looking for those innovative, fresh ideas. I think Paradise can present that. But also, Paradise needs to keep the thing that made Paradise Paradise, which is its charm and its quality of life, which is the outdoor living opportunities and tourism opportunities that are here in Paradise are really important moving forward. And so I think that we have an opportunity to present Paradise as Paradise with all of the innovative technology and infrastructure that is attractive to new businesses while we're presenting this quality of life, safe, beautiful, outdoorsy type of healthy community. And those combine to make Paradise Paradise.
Awesome. So that's our official 3 questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Again, going back to the importance of having a seasoned, solid council, I think that is something that I can offer. In addition to that, I've been working for this community for years, long before I chose to put my hat in the ring for council, and will continue to do so. I've been part of the tourism community for a lot of years and helped establish the Tourism Business Improvement District, which has been incredibly beneficial both to Paradise and Butte County throughout throughout all of the disasters, including the dam, the fires, and now COVID. So I will continue to support this community and be a voice for this community, regardless of what happens in November. But I hope that you'll permit me to continue this work through the council.
All right, that concludes our interview. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Hi, Warren. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Hello, and thank you for having me. I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce putting this together. My name is Warren Bullock, and I've been a Paradise resident for almost 20 years. Over the last 20 years, I have worked towards growing my business, both in town and my personal life, worked towards bettering the community in the best ways that I personally can. I'm running for town council because I want to see a positive change, and I believe that my background and my credentials can help me help the people of Paradise, both now and into the future.
Okay, let's jump into our official questions. Question number 1, if elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
Immediate top priorities are safety and getting people back to the ridge. In terms of safety, I'm looking at potentially falling trees, brush clearing, fire maintenance. Those are things that are, I think, top priorities. And then looking and exploring at new ways to help bring people back to Paradise.
Okay, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, I see both the opportunities and the challenges as being interconnected. Some of the biggest opportunities are trying to bring people back to Paradise, help development in Paradise, both commercial and residential, and it's an incremental development issue. We can't just have residential construction. We can't just have commercial construction. Both of those are interconnected, and you need one to be able to have the other. I think that the desire to have a sewage treatment system is going to be a big drive to help promote business in Paradise, not so much the residential side, but in order to develop the town in the ways that the current and past town council would like to see, it's going to require that sewage system or water treatment system. They have some great plans for downtown, and a lot of those are in the works. Underground construction, curb gutter sidewalk, street improvements, and those look great on paper. I can't wait to see them in person. Those are going to be integral to having that sewage system though. So those are both opportunities and obstacles. Getting those people back, we need workers, we need thriving businesses in town, and we as a community, not just the town council, but the community at large, need to work together to make that happen.
Okay, our third question. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Well, the post-COVID or current COVID economy and world that we live in is odd, interesting, sort of ever-changing, but sort of staying stagnant at the same time. In my business, we've seen a lot of people wanting to leave more densely populated, populous areas and go towards less population dense areas such as Paradise or other outlying areas. Finding a way to help those people be able to telecommute to jobs that aren't here yet is going to be real helpful. I understand the town is working on a broadband feasibility study, which may help be able to alleviate pressure on people who are trying to telecommute to work. In the meantime, Comcast Business has a lot of business lines downtown areas, and then also AT&T has restrung most of the town with high-speed fiber optic cable. So that should help with anybody who's looking to relocate to this area and telecommute to where they're going. Also, we could be working with groups like the construction board. I can't remember the technical name of their group, but Paradise really needs a lot of workers to get things done. This is a big, big project, and it's going to take a really, really long time, like decades, to complete. Getting those people in the right positions is pivotal in making that happen. and it kind of ties back to the second question about the opportunities of Paradise. There are a lot of things that we need as a community right now to help rebuild that we don't have. Things like green waste facilities, concrete facilities, construction and materials and lumber yards. Those are all things that could tie those second and third questions together, help improve Paradise, help its residents be able to get back here sooner and have work when they get here. So those are, like I said, kind of interconnected, and I think have great opportunities, but at the same time, some growing needs to happen to make those work.
Okay, so that's it for our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Sure. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you guys and get this out there to potential voters. And, I'm a 20-year Paradise resident who's committed to making Paradise a better place and have been ever since I've been here. And I look forward to working with town staff, the chamber, community at large, and trying to make those goals possible.
All right, well, that's our interview. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Great. So I am Sam Gronseth and running for Paradise Town Council. I've lived in the community of Paradise for 35 years. I've taught school here and taught at Paradise Elementary, Ponderosa, Paradise Intermediate, and Paradise High School, as well as Paradise Charter Middle School and other schools up on the ridge. Music education has been my field, and so I've had the opportunity to have a lot of students in my classroom, about 20,000 over the years, and it's been my honor to be able to get to know them and continue to grow those programs and be able to influence lives.
All right, so let's move on to our official questions. Question number 1, if elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
So immediate priorities are a mixed bag. I think it's really important to understand completely what the ordinances and recent controversial issues maybe have been with the town council and exactly why those were put into place. It's been a very active time. Our community has gone through an incredible ordeal, and I think one of the things that comes up quite immediately probably is the ordinance concerning trailers on properties and people rebuilding, and my thought on that is that we need to give every opportunity for those who are rebuilding here in Paradise to rebuild. We also need to make sure that anyone taking advantage of the property scenarios here in Paradise isn't able to do that in a negative way.
All right, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, this is a unique situation here in Paradise, and I have seen a lot of scenarios all throughout the country and even the world, and I've never seen a scenario quite like Paradise, where you have an opportunity to rebuild and reimagine your community. The tragedy that brought us here is real, but the opportunity should not be overlooked. And it'd be my desire to see Paradise be able to take advantage of the things that are there, the attention that we've gotten, and the opportunity to rebuild and readjust our community.
Okay, question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
So a lot of business partnerships throughout the country and government partnerships are obvious things that happen. The community of Paradise is rebuilding in a lot of different ways, and so things like underground PG&E lines, things like fiber optic, I think is a huge advantage especially in this COVID-19 scenario. I know a lot of people who, if they're going to have to work out of their homes, they feel that they would like their homes to be in a different place than in the middle of a city. And I think that Paradise has an opportunity to capitalize on that, bringing some new people in. But I also think that it's vital to make sure that we're honoring the people that have been here, and the wide variety of people who have been here and were Paradise before the fire. And so one of my priorities would be to honor those people, and then another priority would be to continue to stabilize the community of Paradise. The town council has done a really good job of stabilizing us for the next 5 to 7 years probably, and then make sure that we reach out to people as they consider the possibility of relocating here and becoming a new resident of Paradise.
All right, so that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Yeah, I would. I've had a lot of students in my classrooms over the years, and I've taught in many different schools around here, and it is it's always been my desire to help people grow to their greatest potential. And I would do the same as a town council member, helping Paradise grow to its highest potential, and helping our community to reach out to people who may help us be able to do that. All my career I've been a community builder, and that may be in a classroom, it may be in a choir, it may be in a band, it may be in a school, but building community is something that I've done my whole life, and I look forward to the possibility of doing that on the town council here in Paradise.
Okay, that concludes our official interview. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, Rachelle. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
My name is Rachelle McCann. I have lived in Paradise since 1994. I worked in the Bay Area and lived up here, and then I moved up here full-time in 1999. And I've raised all 3 of my sons here, and I've been here ever since.
All right, let's go into our official questions. If elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
First things I want to do, main thing is to get another alert system for the town and set in motion, and something very reliable. Is what we had before did not work. It's a huge passion of mine to make sure everybody is safe here. That is one of the number one things that I want to get out. The weed abatement and the trees, I'd like to make that easier for the town to be able to, or the residents of the town to be able to clean, get a green waste system going back up here in Paradise. Those are my first 2 priorities at least. I want to keep everything really safe. I want to keep crime down. And I know that if we communicate really well with the town and the police, that can happen.
Okay, question number 2. What are your greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
So we do need people to come back to the town. We need residents here. We need a tax base. We do need, I think that's the most important thing, is to get people back up here. We need to make it easier. We need the residents to come back, and that will attract businesses. So we need to make it a little less difficult. open doors, offer assistance to get people back up here.
Okay, question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Well, I know that Paradise has some unique challenges as well as really unique traditions, and I'd like to be able to incorporate the two of those. We need to work on the sewer system. That would be something huge that will attract new businesses and businesses that would want to be here, because that does face a challenge for people coming into here. We need to make sure that we are keeping the old traditions alive as well as incorporating all the new things that are going to be here. We're going to have new homes, new parks, new streets, new everything. The more people that come back here to Paradise, the more businesses will want to be here, and then everything should be able to grow with a good tax base at that point.
Okay, so that is our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Let's see, one of the things I think is really important is I do have time to devote to this town. I don't have a full-time job right now that's eating all of my time. I have lots of time to devote here. I think that I don't have any conflicts of interest. I don't own a business here. I'm not running a business through town. I am just passionate about being in this town and bringing people home to this town and people who want to be in this town. And I think that that's my biggest reason for running for council. And I really hope that the real people of Paradise can identify with this and want to be here too.
Okay, that concludes our official interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Greg Bolin. I moved up here from LA in 1967 with my parents. I was 9 years old. Lived in Paradise ever since. It's home. This is home to me. I was fortunate enough to be raised here, go through the school system, raise my family here, started our business here. And then 8 years ago, was lucky enough, the people of the town voted me in as a council member, and I've served over the last 8 years on the town council.
Moving into our official questions. Question number 1. If elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
The immediate priorities are, one, for me, is the trees. We've been trying diligently with the state to get these trees out of here, and we need to do that. It's been delayed too many times, and we are trying our hardest to get them to move forward, but it keeps going into problems with the contracts. So that's number 1. We got to get the trees done. 2, we need to move forward and get Comcast and AT&T on board. Homes are being built, and we're having a very difficult time to get them in there for internet connections and stuff like that. There's a battle between them and PG&E, and it's very disappointing right now to see that happening, but we need to get them, encourage them to move forward and get our houses served, especially now with people working at home and kids doing school at home. It's vital we get that done for people to move up. Sewer system is extremely important. We need a sewer system, and that's going to be vital for our commercial side and for people to want to move up here and develop a business. So we're close. We're finishing up. We should be hearing from the report here pretty quick on that, on their final decisions on where that should go and how that should work. And I think it's just a matter of us moving forward with our plan. We have a plan that was put forth by the citizens of this town. There's many parts to it. I think there's 42 different parts that the town said that was important. Siren is one of those that is very important. We're going through the study on the siren right now. Or if it's not a siren, it's something as a warning system. And I think everybody has seen that recently as a vital thing. So we're going through a study on that right now, and hopefully we'll have that up by next year. So those are the immediate, I would say, things, and then there's many other things after that.
Okay, moving into question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
First off, all that you can do as a town is accommodate and make it to where business wants to be here. You can't bring business in, you can't make them come in. You can just make a situation, put the table out and make it to where they want to be here. So it's always it's a tough one right now. We got to have enough people living in town to make it viable for businesses to come in and for them to be able and want to be in this town. So that's happening. I mean, houses are coming back very quickly, as you can see. It's very encouraging to see how many homes are going up. But with that comes responsibility for the town to accommodate. And I'll have to say, it's been very good to watch our townspeople, our staff, be very accommodating in responding to businesses if they're interested. I've been on a few ends of calls where people called in and they've asked me, said, look, we're thinking about moving to Paradise with our business. We have some questions. And I've called the people to town, Susan and the town manager, and I said, hey, here's some questions that they have. They've assembled a team to get together, meet with those people, and take care of their issues. That's what they want. I've had virtually every one of them call me back and say, thank you. Never experienced that before in another town that we've gone to. So that's important that we do that. And our staff is laser focused on making sure that any business that's interested in come up here, we give them every bit of attention that they want. Sometimes they don't like the answers because you have to have rules, you have to have guidelines. These aren't tough guidelines, but we have guidelines in which we are living by. But at least they know, at least they have the answers whether they can move forward or not. So that's very important. So I'm kind of getting off on, but that's what I see as a good thing for Paradise, for businesses to come up here. I think as time moves on, as the next 2 years go on, I think you asked about 2 years, we're going to see more and more homes, more advantageous for people to come up. I think the smaller mom and pop shops can establish themselves right now and do very well because they're able to be flexible and move in. I know COVID's been very tough on business up here, and that's been very hard to see and very disappointing. But I think we have a great opportunity for mom and pop shops, small shops, to come up here and get established and get things going and be in the front end of this thing. So that's exciting. We've also learned some things, as far as how we're where the downtown's going to be, where it's going to be established, and it's exciting to see that we're seeing an absolute true line of this is where our downtown is. We're going to start doing road work. We're doing fill-in where we have sidewalks going in. It's going to be an actual downtown. We're not going to be walking on gravel in our downtown. We're going to have sidewalks, curb and gutter, and it's going to be very nice. So it's going to present itself well, and I think we have a great opportunity to attract businesses over the next few years.
Okay, great. Moving into our third question. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Well, partnerships would always be with the chamber. I mean, the chamber is a great partner to the town and getting the word out and advertising. So you guys have always been great partners, and I would hope that would continue. COVID has brought some challenges. It has also shown us some things that we can do better. I know at the BRIC, for instance, the Building Resiliency Center, they have a situation now where you have to have an appointment to go in and do your work. Before, you just came in as you wanted and did your stuff. We learned something from that. We learned that has worked very, very well. And I'm hoping we move forward even after COVID and do the appointment thing. Because people, you can plan your day if you have an appointment set for going in there and doing it, but when you got to go in and sit for an hour, 2 hours and wait to get in line to do your work, it makes it very difficult. So we've learned those type things. We've learned, you can do stuff on Zoom and things. I don't like those meetings. I don't think that's a good way to communicate for us. But you can do that. I think people have learned outside of Paradise that a lot of them can do business from home. And I think Paradise can be very exciting for them because they can live in Paradise. They can do their work from home. They have good school systems. We have a good place to live. We don't have the issues that they have in the towns and the cities, with homelessness and all that kind of stuff. So we actually are sitting in a very good position for people to see this as a place to raise their family and a good school system for their kids, and they can still work where they were working and yet do it from home. So I think we've learned a lot from that, and that's exciting. We'll see how that flushes out over the next few years, whether that really happens or not. But COVID has been a very tough situation for businesses, which has been very disappointing. We had enough, it's been tough enough coming out of the fire with businesses, but now to have that on top of it is very difficult. And I just am so thankful for those companies that have hung in there and have made it work and have pushed through and been, they've thought outside of the box on how to keep things going. And I think that's been very good. So we've learned a lot.
Okay, so that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Only thing I'd like to say is we have one shot at doing this and bringing Paradise back. One shot. We have a good plan, and we worked with the people of this town. They did a great job at going to those meetings and giving us their input on what is important to them. Those things are all written down. And the order in which they come is going to vary depending on, sometimes you have to do one thing before you do something else. So it's going to vary. But we have a great plan. We just need to be laser focused on implementing that plan and getting our town on the track back. We've been given a good amount of money from PG&E. It seems like a lot of money. When you break it down and look at it over the next 20 to 25 years, it's not an excessive amount of money. We don't have a lot of margin, money to do some other projects with. We have a little bit. We just need to make sure, especially this next 4 years, we've got to make sure, and that's why I'm running, is that we stay focused on our goal of getting Paradise back. We don't get off on these tangents. We don't get off on these things that sound good or that take us away from our main objective, and that's bringing Paradise back. We don't get off on spending our money on things that we really can't afford right now. We need to be disciplined and get ourselves on a course that brings us back to where we need to be. That's why I'm running. I want to see us do that. I think the next 4 years are crucial making that happen.
Okay, that concludes our interview. Thank you very much for coming in today, Greg.
Thank you.
Hi, Rose. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Thank you, and thanks for doing this, and thanks for having me here. This is really helpful. My name is Rose Tryon. I am a retired district attorney investigator. I specialize in sexual assault and child abuse investigations, so I understand the importance of taking care of our more vulnerable communities. I'm also president of one of the largest women's organizations supporting agriculture in the state of California. We have members all the way from San Diego to the Oregon border, and we have members from really diverse political, social, and economic backgrounds. We have approximately 1,200 members, I think, in our organization, 12 to 15, and it is a pleasure being their president and working with them. That organization, I spend a lot of time advocating for rural communities, And I'm also a full-charge bookkeeper, so I understand accounting and financial statements. So I'm excited to be here in Paradise. I'm excited to be part of the rebuild. I came to Paradise. I've lived here for almost 7 years. My husband has lived here for almost 30 years. 3 of his 4 children have graduated from Paradise High School. We have chosen to come back and be part of the rebuild. I'm excited to see Paradise grow, and we're excited to be here to be part of that rebuild.
Okay, moving into our official questions. Question number 1. If elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
I think one of my immediate priorities is the trees that are here. We have a lot of dead and dying trees that are still here up on the ridge. We need to find a way to get these trees off the hill. Many of these trees have degraded so much now that people can't climb them to take them down. They're dangerous. So that means a lot of them will now have to be mechanically taken down, which is going to cost more money and take more time, quite frankly, to do. So I think that is definitely a priority. It's a danger not only to members of our community, but also to our infrastructure. I think another priority for me is to get a alarm system for the town, an early warning system, a tiered, layered early warning system that'll warn residents of Paradise that there is an impending danger. I know the day that I evacuated on November 8th, I wouldn't have known what was going on if it wasn't for my husband calling me and letting me know. I remember I was in the middle of town of Paradise at about noon that day, and when I looked in my rearview mirror, there were hundreds of people still behind me. So I think it's important that we have set evacuation zones. I think it's important that we widen our streets, so in case if there's ever any other type of an emergency, people are able to get out. I think another priority for me is to make sure that we have medical facilities here on the ridge for people to be able to get medical treatment if needed.
Okay, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
So I think one of our opportunities, of course, is the settlement that we received from PG&E. I think we can debate whether it was a good settlement or it wasn't a good settlement, but it is what we have now. The estimates that I have seen is the money that we receive from PG&E will be able to keep the town going for approximately 10 to 15 years. So I think it's really imperative that we are financially, fiscally responsible with the money that we have. I think the other thing that is important is for us to take a look at building our downtown area. One of the main blocks to that has been the sewer system that's there, or a lack of sewer system that's there. I think we need to look at a wastewater treatment facility. Prior to the fire, we had difficulty bringing businesses in or putting more businesses downtown because of the lack of sewer systems, and it also prevented the size of the businesses that can be here. So I think that's something that's fundamentally important to our growth, to work on a wastewater treatment plant so we can bring more businesses in downtown. I think the other opportunities that we have is, we sort of have a blank slate right now. There's a lot of things that we can do to improve our downtown. I've seen plans for a walking downtown, which I think would be beautiful. This is a beautiful area. That's part of the reason why so many of us moved up here. I think fiscal responsibility is going to be a key issue for us. I think we need to work on being designated as an opportunity zone, so that way we can have more private investment come into our area to help our town grow.
Okay, moving into question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
So I think I touched on a walking downtown area, make it an area that people want to come to. I think the other thing that COVID has brought about is, we're sort of at home more. And what does that look like? And how do, for myself running an organization, we do a lot of things via Zoom or some other type of a webinar. So I think that having the fiber optics up here in our area will be beneficial. It will allow people who want to move to this area and for our citizens of this area to be able to work from home, and to have that is going to be huge for our community.
Okay, so that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Yeah, I'm really super excited about the possibilities for Paradise. I think we have. It's exciting to see where we're going to be and where we're going to go from here. I think it's important that we move the town forward, but I also think it's important for us not to forget about the people who were here prior to the fire. I think many people are still struggling and need to find ways forward, and I would like to see the town really help them do that. I understand that we need fines and permits and things like that to move projects forward, but I don't think those should be a revenue stream for our community. I think that we want to focus on moving the community forward and helping people come back to live in Paradise.
Okay, that concludes our official interview. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
Well, my name's Mike Zucc, Zuccolillo, and I've lived in Paradise here now for about a decade. Lost my house in the Camp Fire. Been a real estate broker here in town ever since I moved here. Pretty active in the community, different events such as the Parade of Flags and the Elks Lodge and many other different things. And I'm actually from Southern California, one of those evil, transplants. And I came here because I wanted the small town way of life where you get to know your neighbors, where gentlemen hold the door open for ladies. And that's why I'm here.
Okay, moving into our official questions. Question number 1, if elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
Well, I think the top priorities are, number 1, we need to put the Skyway back to 4 lanes downtown. The fire has taught us that evacuation routes of the utmost importance. And even when we had the Bear Fire, it just happened a couple weeks ago, we were again seeing backup on Skyway. I think in order to get residents back up here and feeling safe, you saw the panic, that day when people were trying to get out of town. That being 1. Number 2 is improving our evacuation system. So, being up on the ridge, we're accustomed to power outages, internet outages, some of the things that we kind of take for granted. And what I think is important is we kind of get back to some more rudimentary notification systems. So air raid sirens, police having the high-low siren on their car, things that you can use when maybe your cell phone isn't charged, when maybe the emergency alert system isn't working. Because we've seen every time we've had a PSPS, Comcast goes out within about a couple hours because Comcast doesn't have a backup generator to run their lines. That's second. And third is, coming up in rebuilding the town. So a lot of people say, hey, you guys got a clean slate. You can do whatever you want. You can build a master planned community if you want. And A, that's not true. And B, people don't want that. Like, people came to Paradise because, I mentioned earlier, they like the small town way of life. They like the different types of houses. They like the weird streets. They like, the dark skies at night. So in looking and rebuilding, it's how do we rebuild smarter? So more fire resilient homes, better defensible space, but at the same time, respect the traditions that are here, respecting Gold Nugget Days, respecting Parade of Flags, respecting all the kind of things that made us want to live here. We didn't move here because we're like, well, Paradise has the most amazing housing stock in the world. That wasn't it. It was the people. And, I think we're kind of at a cusp here where, this could turn into like a little Bay Area suburb. Nobody wants that. Nobody came here because that's what they wanted. So I think, find those ways of respecting the past and building for the future. And I think once we get those things handled, you kind of see the other things fall into place. Some of the economists I've talked to, are saying, hey, if you want to get your business back, you got to get rooftops. get your rooftops, you get your businesses. So we got to really focus on getting people back home.
Okay, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, if you asked me this question prior to March, I probably would have had a different answer for you. We've learned now to do distance learning. We're doing an interview on Zoom. There's 12 candidates sitting next to me. And what I think some opportunities for Paradise might be is we've learned that you can do your job remotely. Some people can. So there's an opportunity here in town to bring high-speed internet, like real high-speed internet throughout town. And the advantage of that is you could have some more of the tech-related industries, not like Silicon Valley stuff, but more of the complementary businesses that could be here. And what makes that possible is, because PG&E is undergrounding all of our utility lines, we have an opportunity to run conduit and fiber and cable everywhere through town, really at little cost. The biggest cost in undergrounding is generally the trenching and the labor. Usually the parts and the materials is the cheapest. So, and people say, well, it's just internet. But as we've been evolving in this generation, everything seems to be based on the internet. We're more reliant on our phones, so it's not just a luxury; it's more of an immediate necessity these days. So I think that's one. 2 is how do we position ourselves to grow? Most of the businesses in Paradise that were here prior to the fire were mostly service related. Paradise really didn't have a lot of industry, and again, talking about the internet. A lot of our shopping is trending towards online, Amazon, and you're seeing that reflected in what remaining businesses are here. So we need to find ways to make Paradise self-sufficient. And I think some of the ways of doing that is, Paradise has things that you can't build somewhere else. So, we have views looking into the valley. Wouldn't it be nice to have restaurants up here that had a view out looking over Chico? Things you couldn't have elsewhere. And a lot of the traditions, like the Johnny Appleseed days and things like that, brought people up here. So finding a way to, invite people to visit, people to check us out. And the fortunate part, the fire's been terrible. Let's make no doubt about it. But the one thing is, it's kind of made Paradise famous. So anywhere you go, they say, oh, where are you from? Paradise. And I remember people are like, Paradise? There's a city called Paradise? And you say, oh, that's by Chico. And they're like, oh, by the state prison. Like, no, that's Chino. But the fire happened, and everyone's like, oh, you're from Paradise. Here, have a seat. Let me talk to you. So we really have that kind of superstar fame right now. And you're seeing a lot of, test industries coming into town, test different types of building materials, different types of housing, different things, because everyone's like, hey, if I can make this work in Paradise, I can make this work anywhere. So I think we have opportunities we don't even know about. And the other, somewhat difficult, somewhat of a blessing, is there really hasn't been any modern day history where an entire town has been wiped out due to fire. So we're kind of writing the playbook on that. You've had cities that have lost sections of towns through fires, hurricanes, but really not just utter devastation. So we're kind of the pioneers of this. So people are going to be looking to us like, hey, what did Paradise do? What can we learn from that? So lots of cool things we can do.
Okay, question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
I think a couple thoughts on that. So, one, I think we have to figure out how COVID ends up being. What's the end game with COVID? And so what I mean by that is, at what point is COVID over? Is it when we have a vaccine? Is it when there's no deaths? There's no people are not transmitting the disease, and that comes into play because I think it'll show like what do we do moving forward. So. What I mean by that, will schools ever return to normal? Or are we going to be pioneering a different type of distance learning? Not what we have now, maybe something hybrid, maybe something new. And the other nice thing, and I kind of make this jokingly, and it's, Paradise already has been kind of practicing social distancing. because we only have 15% of the town left. And when you look at the statistics as far as the illnesses of COVID in the county, the Ridge has really been very, very few. And I think it's allowed us to function semi-normal. So with like town hall, for example, our building department is still open every day. And a lot of businesses here have learned to kind of adapt to the changes, and whether it's eating outside, whether it's going against the county's guidance and opening up indoor. But I think it'll be difficult to know like what the long-term effects are, if there's new industries created of it, if there's lasting effects. I mean, now things that used to take for granted, like a handshake. I mean, now everyone's like elbow bumping and back bumping, and you don't do handshakes anymore. How does that change relationships? You've seen it changing how we conduct meetings. I mentioned earlier one of my professions, being a real estate broker, and we used to have a convention we go to. We learn and collaborate, and now it's all virtual. And so you're really going to see whether or not that's a viable option, whether people like it, whether people don't. But I think, the partnerships that we might see up here, telemedicine, for example, has been really kind of picking up. So for those that don't really know, telemedicine, instead of going to your doctor, you're doing it via Zoom or some other secured method. And why that may be important is, before, when people would live here, if you need to see a specialist, even pre-fire, you may have to travel to Sacramento, you might have to travel to Davis. And now with telemedicine, you can basically live anywhere. So I think what COVID will ultimately teach us is that we're not necessarily geographically bound to where we live. We see that happening with the Bay Area right now. A lot of people are moving out of the Bay Area, trying to seek a better life. So I think you'll see those opportunities of we're not geographically restrained. Where pre-fire was like, well, we're not off a major highway. We don't have a freeway going through us. We don't have a college here. So I think we'll be seeing those methods. So it'll be interesting to see what comes.
Okay, so that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
Yeah, I've served Citizens Paradise here for one term, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think what has made me stood out is being that source of information for people. Be my Zucc's official and unofficial Facebook post, and just a lot of people getting information. I think that's what public service is about. It's about informing your electorate, your citizens, on what they need, and being that person that's always there. And I think I've enjoyed that. It's something I never really saw myself. We talk about cause and effect. The fire really kind of catapulted myself into doing that. And I love this town. And I'm never one that goes with the good old boy club. Never one that rubber stamps projects. I'm here because you guys put me here, and I'm seeking another 4 years because I know who I answer to. I'd be honored to serve you guys again. So I ask you for your vote.
All right, that concludes our interview. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Hi, Julian. Thanks for being a part of our interview series. How about we start out with you telling us a little about yourself?
I moved to Paradise in 1987 when I was 5 years old, and grew up in town here. I owned a business from 2007 to about 2017, running a alternative energy landscape company where I converted a truck into biodiesel and had all my tools running off of lithium-ion batteries. I ran for Paradise Town Council in 2018. I ran because I saw a significant disconnect between the then current council and the needs of the community. So Paradise is a very unique area. The terrain is very unique, having canyons on both sides of it, and having experience in fuel reduction and controlled burns, it was very obvious to me and a lot of other people that the town was in a great deal of danger given the amount of overgrowth. And that seemed to just kind of be slipping through the cracks. So I ran out of concern. And I'm running again on fire prevention. I think even after the campfire, we are still in a situation where we've got a lot to be concerned about. And having the background that I have is a unique perspective that I believe the town council needs in order to make informed decisions for the community.
Okay, moving into our official questions. Question number 1. If elected, what will be your immediate priorities?
Immediate priorities would include more attention on fire prevention. I think we missed a huge opportunity right after the fire to introduce native species for vegetation. So the burn scar allowed for invasive species to take over really fast, and now we're back in a situation similar to 2018 where we have a lot of ground fuels that are hazardous. So we need to really rein in the focus on fire prevention. To me, it doesn't seem right to be looking 20 years down the road and making grandiose plans when we have immediate safety issues in town.
Okay, question number 2. What are the greatest economic development opportunities and challenges for Paradise in the next 2 years? How would you capitalize on these opportunities and overcome these challenges?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities to be had. There are, we've got a blank slate to work with. There's not very many examples of anything like this ever happening before, where you get the opportunity to rebuild a town from the ground up. We have a lot of challenges because we're working around steep terrain and hills and existing homes. So we don't have the opportunity to quite plan from scratch, but we do have the opportunity to really redefine how we develop the town. The hurdles, there's countless hurdles. For the people that jumped out first and are rebuilding right away, they can, there's just so many hurdles. It's hard to even start listing them.
Okay, question number 3. The campfire and COVID-19 have presented Paradise with great challenge as well as great opportunity. How do you think Paradise should market itself to attract residents in the post-COVID economy, and what partnerships would you seek in supporting a new direction?
Regarding COVID, I don't know what to say. It's such a tricky situation, and I think Paradise is doing a good job. We're getting through it, and we just have to see where things land. Paradise is going to naturally attract people here just because of the area and the beauty and the community and our story. I think all we got to do is just keep being who we are, and people will come.
Okay, so that concludes our official questions. Would you like to give any final remarks?
I think the council will really benefit from having somebody such as myself helping steer the decisions that are being made. So after the fire, I changed careers and I got involved with rebuilding efforts and really just changed my whole direction in life to be a part of that. So I think this, given my background with fire prevention and current construction experience, we really need boots on the ground perspectives when making the decisions for the community to move forward.
Okay, that concludes our interview. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.